All right, I guess this is part 2 to 13.6. So we talked about the quadrantal angles. Let's review just briefly. This is 0 degrees. I'm not going to write it down, okay? We'll just think 0 degrees. Do you remember what the cosine and sine is at 0 degrees? It's an ordered pair. It's a unit circle. Cosine is 1, sine is 0. Tangent is 0. It's sine over cosine, right? Or it's 0 over 1, which is 0. So the tangent is 0. Let's go up here to 90 degrees. At 90 degrees, what's the ordered pair? It's easy to remember. Think the ordered pair. It's 0, 1. So what's the cosine? What's the sine? And what's the tangent? Right, because it's 1 over 0. Let's go to 180. 180, what's the ordered pair first of all? Negative 1, 0. Okay, negative 1, 0. The cosine is negative 1. The cosine is 0. All right, does everybody know what we're doing? The cosine is the x and the sine is the y, right? And the tangent is the y over the x, or the sine over the cosine. So this was negative 1, 0. So what's the tangent? It's 0 over negative 1, which is 0. One more. Let's go down to 270. 270, what's the ordered pair? 0, negative 1. The cosine would be 0. The sine would be negative 1. The tangent would be undefined because it's negative 1 over 0. Everybody good? All right, sounds like you remember that. Good. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do, well, I have a pre-drawn picture, but I'm just going to do it like this for the sake of time. We're going to do a 30, 45, and a 60, all right? So I could take the time to make sure this is exactly 30, but I'm not going to. This is good enough. You okay with that, aren't you? All right. So let's say that's 30 degrees right here. 30 degrees. Now what we want to do is we want to do the same thing. Remember the ordered pair was 1, 0? What we want to do is find the ordered pair. Remember, this is a unit circle, so the radius is 1. So this right here is 1. Okay? Everybody understand that? Okay? That's why this point was 1, 0. That's why this was 0, 1, and so forth. So this is 30 degrees. This is the radius, and that's 1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a triangle out of this. Now with those quadrantal angles, you couldn't really make a triangle, could you? Because it was right on the axis. All right? But now this time I'm going to drop a perpendicular down from that point. Okay, this is the point right there that we want to find. Does that make any sense? See this point right there? That's the point we want to find. We want to find the x and y. If I know the x and the y, then guess what I know? The cosine and the sine, and the tangent as well, right? But I can, if I can find the x, I can find the cosine of 30 degrees. If I can find the y, I can find the sine of 30 degrees. And that follows pretty easily, doesn't it, if you know those quadrantal ones, those 0, 90, 180 kind of stuff. So the key is I got to find what is this x and what is this y. And that'll be this, and then I'm going to put those numbers in right here once we finally figure it out. Okay? So if you look at this triangle, this is what? 1. No, that's not 1. Not from here to here. That's not 1. The 1 is the radius of the circle. The 1 is from here all the way to the circle. But what is it where I dropped the perpendicular? From the center to where I dropped down the perpendicular? Don't know, do I? All right, but what axis is it along? The x-axis. So I'm going to call that x. We did this briefly in another lesson, I believe, somewhere. So this is x. What about from here to here? What's that going to be? That's going to be y. All right. So if I can find this and I can find this, I can put it here and here. So guess what? This is going to be the cosine. This x right here is going to be the cosine of 30 degrees. This y right here is going to be the sine of 30 degrees. Do you understand why it is? Okay. I think it's important. So that 0, 90, 180 stuff comes into play here as well, except where, you know, we're not right on the axis this time. We're in between the axes. Everybody got it? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to find what this is. Now, if you remember from geometry, tell you what, let's do this separately. Let's put this triangle down here. Let's grab it. We could probably do that right there. And let's flip it. I think I can do this. Transform, reflect, about the vertical, preview. Yep, that's what I want. Just to kind of make it look more like what we're doing here. Let's drag this over here like this. There we go. That kind of looks like a 30 degree. Kind of. Probably a little smaller, but that's okay. We'll just pretend. Okay, this is 30 degrees. Now, from geometry, and I think we've discussed this once before, if I remember. I'm not positive. But let's do this. If the remember, it's a unit circle, so the hypotenuse is 1. Do you remember the relationship between the short side, the long side, and the hypotenuse? I'll just say it real quick. I'm not going to write everything down. But the short side is, I should say this. I will write it down. I lied. Because you need to see where it comes from. The hypotenuse is equal to twice the what? The short side. Okay? That means if I want to find the short side, what do? Divide by 2. It's the hypotenuse divided by 2. Hypotenuse is 1, right? Everybody see that? So just divide by 2. You see the math, don't you? And so what is it? It's 1/2. So that's 1/2. So let's come back to this. All right? What is this side right here? What's y equal to? It's equal to 1/2. So guess what? What did I just find then? I found a trig function. I found the sine of 30 degrees, didn't I? Okay? It's 1/2. So I'm going to put that right there. Try it on a calculator. Put the sine of 30 degrees in there, see what you get, and you'll get 1/2. Okay? You can do that on your own. That's right. These special angles, these should be memorized. Remember we talked about that last week? We said the 0, the 90, the 180, the quadrantal angles, you have memorized now, don't you? All right? I mean, you can visualize it, right, and picture what the ordered pair is and all that kind of stuff. So they should be memorized right now already. And I think they were. You guys were responding pretty well. This stuff should be memorized as well. So what you have to do, you got to look at it, 30-degree angle, and you've got your short side is this one up and down. This is your long side right here. So you should look at it and say, okay, the short side on a 30-degree, visualize it, is 1/2. Okay? We'll go into it a little bit more about how to memorize it. Okay? But for right now, I'm just showing you why they are the way they are. Does that make any sense? Let's do it. Let's do this one right here, the x. So what was the relationship between the hypotenuse and the long side? Square root of 3. Very good. Why did I put b right there? I don't know. The hypotenuse is equal to the square root of 3 times the short side. Now again, I won't show the math, but if I find the short, I'm sorry, why did I put short? Luke, is that what you're going to say? Times the long side. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's, yeah, let's start this again. Yeah, I put hypotenuse. That was dumb. Thank you. All right, it's Monday morning, you know. I'll blame it on that. You guys blame it on that all the time, don't you? So I'll use it once. So the long side is equal to the square root of 3 times the short side. All right, that's a little bit better. All right, now if the long side is 1, you divide it. So the short side is 1 divided by the square root of 3, but we don't leave it like that, do we? Right, you should be able to do that in your head at this point. We've talked about that plenty of times, but I'll show you how we got to it just in case you forgot. So it's the square root of 3 over 3. All right? So that's the number you need to have memorized. What's that? It sure is. My goodness, I am messing everything up. Okay? The long side is not 1, is it? Oh, my word. I'm leaving this. I don't care. Everybody can see how dumb I am. All right? Well, I am. All right, the long side is square root of 3 times the short side. So the long side, and this is even easier, isn't it? It's the square root of 3 times the short side, which we already established, which is 1/2. All right, and so it's what? How would I write that? I wouldn't. Yeah, square root of 3 over 2. Thank you. Now, the square root of 3 over 3 is a number that we're going to deal with in a little bit. That was in my head for some reason. I have no idea. So the long side is the square root of 3 over 2. Come back up here. That's this side right here, all right, related to this triangle down here. And that is the square root of 3 over 2. And I can put that right here. Now, with that done, now you don't have to go through this all the time, all right? I did it once. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So what I've done here is I've done it with 30 degrees. You can just visualize it. Remember, the short side on a 30-degree triangle is 1/2, all right? So if you have a 30-degree or a 60-degree, the short side's 1/2. The long side is what? Right here. The longer side, not the longest. The longer side is square root of 3 over 2, okay? Everybody with me on that? Let's do the tangent real quick. So I could do this. I could say the cosine of 30 degrees, just knowing where this point is. That's why the unit circle is so nice. If I can visualize where that point is and how to get to it, I go long side, then I go short side, don't I? So the long side is square root of 3 over 2. That's the cosine. Then I do the sine of 30 degrees. That's the short side. What's the short side? It's 1/2. Just memorize those numbers. Memorize square root of 3 over 2 goes with the long side. Memorize that 1/2 goes with the short side. Can you do that? If you can do that, that's going to help you find a lot of other things. Let's just do this right here. We'll try to finish this up with this lesson. The tangent. Remember, the tangent is the y over the x, isn't it? Or the sine over the cosine. So it would be this. Just doing the math quick so I can go to the next. What do we do? Multiply by the reciprocal. Check this out. That cancels, that cancels. It's 1 divided by square root of 3, which is square root of 3 over 3. So we've done that with 30. Now, in the next little lesson here, we're going to do this in with a 60-degree triangle.